Once upon a time in the busy city of Enugu, there lived a young woman named Amara. She was 28 years old, slim, with warm brown skin and kind eyes that always seemed to carry a gentle light. Amara was the kind of woman who believed in hard work. Every morning she woke up before sunrise, swept her small compound, boiled water for tea, and set off to the tailor's shop where she worked long hours stitching clothes for other people. She didn't have much. Her clothes were simple. Her shoes were old but neatly polished. She wasn't rich, but she carried herself with quiet dignity. To her, marriage was not about wealth or gold. It was about love, respect, and building together. That was why she gave her whole heart to her husband, Emeka. But Emeka was different. He was tall, handsome, and loud. When he entered a room, he wanted everyone to notice him. He liked expensive clothes, flashy wristwatches, and loud cars that made people turn their heads. At first, Amara thought this was confidence. She thought it was charm. But as the years went by, she began to see another side of him. He wanted more than love. He wanted wealth, status, and a woman who sparkled like diamonds. One hot afternoon, Amara returned home from work. Her hands were sore from sewing, but she still stopped at the market to buy vegetables for dinner. She walked into their small apartment, placed the food on the table, and smiled at Emeka, who was scrolling on his phone. "Welcome, my husband," she said softly. "I bought fresh tomatoes. I will make your favorite stew tonight." But Emeka didn't smile back. He looked at her from head to toe and sneered. "Amara, look at you," he said coldly. "Always looking like a village woman? Do you think stew is what I want? Do you think I married you just to eat tomatoes and pepper every day?" Amara's heart sank. "What do you mean? I am trying my best. I went to the market after work. I want you to be happy." He dropped his phone on the table with a loud bang. "Happy? How can I be happy when my friends are marrying women who drive cars, who wear gold, who look like queens? And look at you. You are still sewing for peanuts. You can't even buy yourself a decent dress. What have I gained from this marriage?" Tears filled Amara's eyes. She tried to hold them back, but her lips trembled. "Emeka, we agreed to build together. You know I don't have much, but I give you everything I have. I thought we were a team." He laughed harshly. "A team? You call this a team? You are dragging me down, Amara. When people see us together, they laugh at me. They say, 'How can Emeka, the big man, marry such a poor, boring woman?' Do you know how that makes me feel?" She reached for his hand, but he pulled away. "Don't talk like this. We can still make things better. Give me time. I will work harder." But Emeka's eyes were hard. "No, Amara. I'm done waiting. I need a woman who matches my level. You can't give me that. You will never give me that. I want a divorce." The word hit her like a slap. She froze, staring at him, her chest tight. "Divorce? Emeka, you can't mean that. After everything we shared? After all the years together?" "Yes, divorce," he said firmly. "I've already spoken to my lawyer. I don't want you anymore. Pack your things and go." Amara dropped to her knees, her voice breaking. "Please, Emeka, don't do this to me. I love you. I have nothing else. If you leave me, where will I go? How will I start again?" He looked at her with disgust. "That is your problem, not mine. I'm tired of your begging. I'm tired of your cheap clothes. I want a real woman, not a burden. The sooner you leave, the better for me." The silence that followed was heavy. Amara could hear her own heartbeat pounding in her ears. She wanted to scream. She wanted to shake him and remind him of their love. But when she looked into his eyes, she saw no love left. Only pride, only cruelty. Slowly, she stood up. Her knees felt weak. She wiped her tears with the edge of her wrapper. "If this is truly what you want, Emeka, then may God judge between us." He smirked and picked up his phone again, as if she were nothing. "Good. The lawyer will call you. Don't make it harder than it needs to be." That night, Amara couldn't sleep. She lay on the mat staring at the ceiling. Every corner of the room reminded her of him. The shirts she ironed, the shoes she polished, the meals she cooked with love. She thought of the nights she prayed for him, the mornings she packed his lunch, and now, just like that, he had thrown her away. At dawn, she packed her few clothes into a small bag. As she stepped out of the house, the neighbors watched quietly. Some shook their heads in pity. Others whispered. She walked fast, her eyes on the ground, trying not to break down. By afternoon, she was sitting in her sister's small flat, her bag beside her. Her sister, Chinyere, hugged her tight. "You are welcome here, Amara. Don't cry again. God will fight for you." But Amara could not stop crying. "He said I am poor. He said I am boring. He said I am a burden." Chinyere stroked her hair. "Let him go. One day he will regret it. You are more than what he sees. Don't let his words destroy you." Amara buried her face in her sister's shoulder, but deep inside her, a fire began to burn. She remembered Emeka's cruel laughter, the way he said she was nothing, the way he pushed her aside like trash. That night, as she lay on the floor of her sister's living room, she whispered to herself, "One day God will turn this pain into strength. One day, Emeka will see the woman he threw away, and that day he will regret." The days after the divorce felt like walking through a storm for Amara. Every morning she woke up on the mat in her sister Chinyere's small living room, staring at the cracked ceiling, wishing it was all a nightmare. But it wasn't. Emeka was gone. His words still rang in her head like sharp knives. "You are poor. You are boring. You are a burden." At first, Amara tried to hide inside. She felt ashamed to face the world. She avoided the market, avoided the church, avoided anywhere she could meet people who would whisper behind her back. But life doesn't allow anyone to hide forever. Hunger came, and she had to step outside to buy food. It was on one of those afternoons that everything changed. The sun was hot, the kind of heat that made the road shimmer like melted glass. Amara tied her old wrapper around her waist and carried her market basket. She told herself she would go quickly, buy what she needed, and return before anyone noticed her. But the world had other plans. As she turned into the market square, she froze. Right there in front of her, standing beside a shiny black SUV, was Emeka. And he was not alone. On his arm was Chinwe, a tall, flashy woman with heavy makeup, long, artificial eyelashes, and a wig that bounced as she laughed loudly. She wore a short, glittering gown that showed off her legs, and she carried a gold-colored purse that sparkled in the sun. Amara's heart thumped. For a moment, she wanted to turn and run back home. But before she could move, Emeka's eyes landed on her. A slow, cruel smile spread across his face. "Amara!" he called out, loud enough for people around to hear. "Well, well, look who we have here." Chinwe turned and saw her too. She placed a hand on Emeka's chest and giggled. "So this is the ex-wife you told me about? The one who couldn't keep up with you?" Emeka laughed, enjoying the scene. "Yes, this is her. The one who thought love without money could build a marriage. Look at her, still carrying that same basket like a village woman." People nearby stopped to watch. Market women, passers-by, even small children paused to see the drama unfolding. Amara felt her cheeks burn with shame. She held her basket tightly, her fingers trembling. She wanted to speak, to defend herself, but the words stuck in her throat. Chinwe tilted her head and looked Amara up and down. "So you are Amara? Emeka, you were right. She doesn't even know how to dress. See how she tied that wrapper. If I were you, I too would have run away." The crowd chuckled. Someone whispered, "That must be hard for her." Another laughed and said, "Ah, poor woman." Amara's eyes filled with tears, but she forced herself to stand straight. "Emeka," she said in a shaky voice, "is this necessary? You already left me. Must you shame me in front of everyone?" Emeka shrugged as if she was nothing. "You shamed yourself, Amara. You refused to grow. You refused to shine. And now look, you are nothing. While He spread his hands, showing off his flashy clothes and SUV. "I have moved on to better things." Chinwe giggled again and leaned closer to him. "Baby, let's not waste our time with her. She's not worth it." But Emeka wasn't done. He stepped closer to Amara, lowering his voice so only she could hear. "Do you see her?" he said, nodding at Chinwe. "This is what a real woman looks like. Class, style, money. You could never give me that, Amara. That's why you lost." The words hit her chest like stones. For a moment, she thought she would faint, but she swallowed hard, blinking back her tears. She refused to let them see her collapse in the middle of the market. She took a deep breath. Emeka, she said quietly but firmly, a real man does not insult the woman he once loved. You may laugh at me today, but remember this. Life is not finished yet. Emeka smirked. We'll see about that. Then he turned back to Chinwe and waved his car key. Let's go, baby. Let's leave this joke behind. Together, they got into the SUV. The engine roared and the car sped off, leaving behind the smell of fuel and a cloud of dust. The crowd began to disperse, some shaking their heads, others still laughing. Amara stood there, clutching her basket, fighting the tears that threatened to pour out. Finally, when everyone had gone back to their business, she walked slowly to the tomato cellar. The woman looked at her with pity. My daughter, don't mind them. People who mock others today may beg tomorrow. Take heart. Amara nodded, forcing a small smile. But inside her heart was breaking. She carried her basket home, and as soon as she entered Chinyere's flat, she dropped it on the floor and burst into tears. Her sister ran to her side. What happened? Why are you crying again? Chinyere asked, holding her shoulders. Through sobs, Amara told her everything. The SUV, the laughter, Chinwe's insults, Emeka's cruel words. Chinyere's face grew dark with anger. So he mocked you in public. He even allowed that woman to laugh at you. That man has no shame. Amara wiped her tears with the back of her hand. Chinyere, I felt like the ground should open and swallow me. Everyone was watching. They laughed at me. I wanted to disappear. Her sister hugged her tight. Don't cry, my dear, let them laugh. One day they will see a different Amara. You will rise above them. But Amara shook her head. How, Chinyere? Look at me. I have nothing. I have no money, no beauty, no power. I am just a tailor's assistant. How can I ever rise? Chinyere pulled back and looked into her eyes. Because you have something they don't. You have strength. You have a clean heart. And you have God. Don't let their words destroy you. Instead, let them push you to become stronger. Amara listened, her tears slowing. Her sister's words were like medicine, soothing her wounds. That night, she lay awake again, staring at the ceiling. Emeka's laughter haunted her, but so did her sister's encouragement. And as the night grew quiet, Amara made a silent promise to herself. She whispered into the darkness. They laughed at me today. They called me nothing, but I will not stay like this. I will rise. One day I will walk into a place where they least expect me, and they will see that the woman they mocked has become greater than their dreams. Her heart still hurt, but this time beneath the pain, a small seed of determination had been planted. The morning after the market humiliation, Amara woke up feeling heavy, as if a stone was sitting on her chest. She lay still on the mat in her sister's living room, listening to the noise of the street outside. Traders were shouting prices. Children were laughing on their way to school. The world moved on as if nothing had happened, but inside her, the memory of Emeka and Chinwe's laughter still burned. She wanted to stay indoors again, but she knew she couldn't hide forever. Life needed food, and food needed money. She sighed deeply and stood up. Chinyere, she said softly, I'm going to the tailor shop today. Her sister looked up from where she was sweeping. Are you sure you're ready? You're still hurting. Amara forced a small smile. If I stay here, I will only keep crying. At least at the shop, I can keep my hands busy. Chinyere nodded. All right, but remember what I told you. Don't let anyone's words break you. Lift your head high. Amara nodded, though her heart still felt weak. The tailor's shop was a small wooden building at the corner of a busy road. The sound of sewing machines filled the air, mixing with the smell of dust and fabric. Amara greeted the other tailors quietly and sat down at her old machine. She pulled out a piece of fabric and began to sew, her fingers moving automatically. But her mind was not at peace. She kept seeing Emeka's sneer, kept hearing Chinwe's cruel laughter. The more she sewed, the more her eyes filled with tears until the thread snapped. She quickly wiped her face, hoping no one noticed. But someone did. At that moment, the door of the shop opened. A tall woman in her late 30s walked in. She wore a fitted green dress that looked expensive, and her shoes clicked sharply against the floor. She carried herself with authority, her head held high, her black hair straightened and styled perfectly. On her wrist was a gold bracelet that caught the light. Everyone in the shop paused to look at her. She was the kind of woman who commanded attention without even trying. "Good morning," she said, her voice calm but strong. The head tailor, a man called Mr. Okoro, quickly stood up. "Ah, Madam Kemi. Good morning, Ma. Welcome." Amara froze. She had heard of Madam Kemi before. She was a successful fashion entrepreneur, the owner of one of the biggest boutiques in the city. People said she dressed politicians' wives and famous actresses. She was the kind of woman Amara could only dream of becoming. Madam Kemi walked slowly around the shop, her sharp eyes scanning the fabrics, the machines, and the tailors. Finally, her eyes landed on Amara. "What are you working on?" she asked. Amara's hands trembled as she held up the half-sewn blouse. It's for a customer," she said nervously. Madam Kemi stepped closer. She touched the stitches and nodded slightly. "Neat work. Very neat." Then she looked at Amara directly. "What's your name?" "My name is Amara," she whispered. "Amara," Madam Kemi repeated thoughtfully. "You have good hands, but your face tells me something else. You are not happy." Amara's eyes widened. She wanted to deny it, but the truth sat heavy in her chest. Before she could answer, tears filled her eyes again. She quickly looked down, ashamed. Madam Kemi surprised everyone by pulling out a chair and sitting beside her. "Tell me, Amara, what troubles you?" The whole shop went quiet. The other tailors pretended to work, but their ears stretched. Amara hesitated. She didn't want to pour her pain in front of strangers, but something in Madam Kemi's calm eyes gave her courage. "My husband left me," Amara said softly. "He said I was poor. He said I was boring. He mocked me in front of people. Yesterday, he and his new woman laughed at me in the market." The words came out like a flood. By the time she finished, her cheeks were wet with tears. Madam Kemi listened quietly, not interrupting. Then she placed a hand gently on Amara's arm. "My dear, I know what it feels like to be mocked. People once laughed at me too. But let me tell you something. What they call weakness today can become your strength tomorrow. Don't let their words bury you." Amara sniffed, looking up slowly. "But how? I am just a tailor's assistant. I have nothing." Madam Kemi's lips curved into a small smile. "You have something more important than money. You have skill. I can see it in your stitches. You also have a heart that refuses to die, even after what you faced. That is the beginning of greatness." The other tailors exchanged glances, surprised at the conversation. "Listen to me," Madam Kemi continued. "Come to my boutique tomorrow. I will teach you things that go beyond sewing. I will teach you business. I will teach you how to carry yourself like a woman who owns her world. If you are willing to learn, your life can change." Amara's eyes widened. "Me? Come to your boutique? But why me?" "Because I see myself in you," Madam Kemi said simply. "Years ago, I was like you, poor, abandoned, mocked. But someone gave me a chance. Now it's my turn to give another woman a chance. Don't waste it." Amara's heart pounded. She didn't know whether to cry or to laugh. This felt unreal, like a dream. "Thank you, Ma," she said, her voice shaking. "I don't deserve this kindness." Madam Kemi squeezed her hand gently. "Every woman who has suffered deserves a second chance. The question is, will you take it?" Amara nodded quickly. "Yes, Ma, I will take it. I will come." "Good," Madam Kemi said, standing up. "Tomorrow morning, 10 o'clock. Don't be late." She adjusted her purse and walked out, her presence still filling the room even after she was gone. As the door closed, the shop buzzed with whispers. One tailor muttered, "Amara is lucky. Madam Kemi never talks like that to anyone." Another said, "Her life is about to change." Amara sat frozen on her chair, her heart racing. For the first time in months, a small flame of hope burned inside her. Maybe her sister was right. Maybe her story was not over. That evening, when she got home, she told Chinier everything. Her sister clapped her hands in excitement. "Amara, do you know what this means? God has remembered you. Don't cry again. This is the beginning of your rising." Amara smiled faintly, though tears of relief still wet her face. She whispered to herself as she lay down to sleep that night, "Maybe, just maybe, tomorrow will be better than today." The next morning, Amara woke up before sunrise. She could barely sleep the night before because her heart kept racing with excitement and fear. Madam Kemi's words repeated in her mind again and again. Tomorrow morning, 10 o'clock. Don't be late. Amara sat up on the mat, brushed her hair back with her fingers, and whispered to herself, "This is my chance. I will not waste it." Her sister Chinier, still half asleep, opened her eyes. "You're already awake?" she asked with a yawn. "Yes," Amara said. "I need to get ready. I don't want to look careless before Madam Kemi." Chinier sat up and smiled. "Don't worry, you will do well. Wear your best dress. Even if it is simple, wear it with confidence. That woman didn't choose you for nothing." Amara looked at her small bag of clothes. She had nothing fancy, just plain dresses and old wrappers. After a long pause, she picked a neat blue gown she had sewn for herself months ago. It wasn't expensive, but it was clean and well-fitted. When she finished dressing, Chinier adjusted the collar and held her shoulders. "Remember, Amara, confidence is the true beauty. Walk like you belong there. Speak like you belong there." Amara nodded, though her stomach was tight with nerves. She hugged her sister and whispered, "Pray for me." By 10 o'clock, Amara was standing in front of Madame Kemi's boutique. The building looked grand, with wide glass doors, shining tiles, and mannequins dressed in elegant gowns displayed at the front. She swallowed hard and stepped inside. The smell of new fabric and perfume filled the air. Everything sparkled: the clothes, the shoes, the accessories. Assistants in neat uniforms moved around, arranging items and attending to customers. "Welcome," one of them said politely. Amara nodded nervously. I came to see Madame Kemi. She asked me to come." Before the assistant could reply, Madame Kemi herself appeared from behind a row of dresses. She wore a flowing purple gown that looked like royalty, and her gold earrings shimmered in the light. "Amara," she said with a smile, "you came on time. Good." Amara quickly bowed her head. "Good morning, Ma." "Come with me," Madame Kemi said. She led Amara into a private office at the back. The office was large and decorated with framed pictures of celebrities wearing Madame Kemi's designs. There were awards on a shelf, proof of her success. "Sit down," Madame Kemi said, pointing to a chair. Amara sat carefully, her hands folded on her lap. "Now," Madame Kemi began, "before we talk about sewing, let me tell you something important. Fashion is not only about making clothes. It is about power. The way you dress, the way you carry yourself, the way you enter a room. Those things matter as much as the stitches. Do you understand?" "Yes, Ma," Amara said quietly. "You told me your husband mocked you," Madame Kemi continued. "He said you were poor, boring, and a burden. Let me tell you the truth. Those words can only remain true if you allow them. The day you decide to rise, no man's opinion can keep you down." Amara's eyes filled with tears, but this time they were not tears of pain. They were tears of hope. "I want to rise, Ma. I don't want to be mocked again. I want to change." Madame Kemi leaned forward. "Then you must learn. You will work here with me. You will see how I design, how I handle clients, how I carry myself. But more than that, you must learn to believe that you are worthy. Can you do that?" Amara nodded quickly. "Yes, Ma, I can." "Good," Madame Kemi said, smiling. "We begin today." The hours that followed felt like stepping into another world. Madame Kemi showed Amara around the boutique, introducing her to fabrics from Paris and Italy, showing her sketches for gowns worth millions of naira, and explaining how clients wanted not just clothes but experiences. "Fashion is storytelling," Madame Kemi explained as they examined a silk gown. "When a woman wears this, she is telling the world, 'I am powerful, I am beautiful, I am in control.' That is why rich people pay so much for it." Amara listened with wide eyes. She had never thought of clothes that way. To her, sewing had always been about covering the body. But here, it was about commanding respect. At lunch, Madame Kemi sat with her in the office. "Tell me, Amara," she said, "what do you dream of becoming?" Amara hesitated. I want to be more than a tailor. I want to be someone who can walk into any room and not feel ashamed. I want people to respect me." "Then start carrying yourself that way from today," Madame Kemi said firmly. "Straighten your back, speak clearly, Stop apologizing for existing. You are not less than anyone. Amara repeated the words quietly, as if trying to plant them in her heart. I am not less than anyone. Days turned into weeks. Amara began working at the boutique regularly. At first she was shy, always hiding behind others. But Madame Kemi pushed her forward. Amara, greet the client. Amara, show her this design. Amara, walk with confidence, not fear. Slowly, Amara began to change. She learned how to stand tall, how to smile without shrinking, how to explain designs with authority. She also sharpened her sewing skills, practicing late into the night. One evening, as she packed her things, Madame Kemi looked at her and said, Do you see the difference? Amara looked confused. What difference, Ma? The difference in you, Madame Kemi replied. When you first came here, you looked like a woman carrying the whole world on her back. Now you look like a woman who knows where she is going. Amara blushed. It is because of you, Ma. You gave me a chance. No, Madame Kemi said. I only opened the door. You are the one walking through it. Then came a turning point. One Saturday, Madame Kemi received a last-minute request from the wife of a senator. She needed a gown for an event that same evening. I can't attend to her myself, Madame Kemi said. Amara, this is your test. Handle her. Amara froze. Me? Handle a senator's wife? Yes, you, Madame Kemi said firmly. If you fail, you learn. If you succeed, you rise. Go. Amara's heart pounded as she entered the fitting room, where the elegant woman waited. Good afternoon, Ma, Amara said politely. The senator's wife looked her over with a critical eye. Are you the one handling me? Yes, Ma, Amara replied, forcing her voice to stay steady. Please, let me show you some designs. For the next hour, Amara worked with trembling hands but a determined spirit. She adjusted gowns, gave suggestions, and explained fabric choices. To her surprise, the senator's wife began to smile. You have good taste, she said finally. I like this one. I will take it. When she left, Madame Kemi clapped her hands. Well done, Amara. You just passed your first real test. Amara's knees nearly gave way. She laughed and cried at the same time. Weeks later, Madame Kemi introduced her to social media. Fashion today is not only in shops, it is online, she explained. People must see your face, your work, your story. That is how you grow. At first, Amara was shy. She didn't want to post pictures of herself, but Madame Kemi insisted. Stand here, she said, arranging her in front of a mannequin. Smile, own the camera. Click. The first picture went online, then another, then another. To Amara's shock, people began to comment. Wow, who is this new designer? She is beautiful. Her work looks amazing. For the first time, strangers admired her. She felt her heart swell with pride, not the false pride of showing off, but the quiet pride of a woman who had been told she was nothing and was now proving otherwise. One evening, Amara stood in front of the mirror at home. She wore a simple but elegant gown Madame Kemi had given her. She touched her hair, her face, her shoulders. For the first time in years, she smiled at her own reflection. This is just the beginning, she whispered. And deep inside, she believed it. Amara's days at the boutique continued to blossom. Each week, her confidence grew, and with it, her name began to spread. Customers liked her calm voice, her patience, and the way she always found the right design for them. Social media posts of her work began to travel farther than she expected. Little by little, she felt her old wounds healing. But while Amara was finding a new path, Emeka was busy living his life in a completely different way. One Friday evening, at a loud bar filled with music and laughter, Emeka sat with his friends at a round table. He wore a white shirt with gold buttons and had a glass of wine in his hand. Chinwe, his new woman, sat beside him, her fingers heavy with rings. My guys, Emeka said, raising his glass. I have a big announcement to make tonight. His friends leaned in, curious. One of them, Uche, chuckled. Another car purchase? Don't tell us you just bought a jet now. They all laughed loudly, slapping the table. Emeka grinned. Not a car, not a jet. Something better. I have decided to marry Chinwe. The group erupted in cheers. Congratulations, they shouted. Big man Emeka is finally tying the knot again. Chinwe flashed her wide smile, showing off her glittering earrings. She leaned against Emeka, her voice sweet but proud. Didn't I tell you? I am the queen in his life now. Emeka kissed her hand dramatically. She is the kind of woman I deserve. Classy, stylish, beautiful. Not like that other one who only knew how to carry market baskets. His friends roared with laughter. Ah, Amara, that poor woman. Where is she now, Seth? Emeka smirked, probably still sewing wrappers in some corner. But she will hear of this wedding. In fact, he paused, sipping his drink. I will personally send her an invitation. Let her come and see what a real wedding looks like. That will be her final lesson. Chinwe giggled and clapped her hands. Yes, invite her. I want her to see what she lost. She should watch me wear the crown she could never carry. The friends shouted in excitement, clinking glasses. Days later, preparations for the wedding began in full swing. The city buzzed with the news. Posters of Emeka and Chinwe appeared in restaurants, on social media, and even in the church bulletin. Their smiles were wide, their clothes matching. Under the picture were the words, "The Wedding of the Year." One morning, Emeka's aunt visited his house. She was an older woman, strict but respected. She frowned as she watched the busy decorators covering the compound with flowers. Emeka, she said, are you sure about this marriage? It is happening too fast. And this Chinwe, her pride is too much. Emeka waved his hand dismissively. Auntie, don't worry. This is the woman I want. She is bold, she is rich-looking, she is everything I deserve. You people complained about Amara. Now I have found someone different. Support me. His aunt sighed. We never complained about Amara. She was humble and respectful. You were the one who wanted more. But Emeka had already turned away, barking orders at the decorators. Chinwe walked out of the house just then, wearing a silk robe. She overheard the last part of the conversation and smirked. Mama, don't worry. Emeka knows what he wants. I will give him everything that other woman could not. The aunt shook her head and left quietly, muttering under her breath. Time will tell. The proposal itself was dramatic. Emeka organized it at a high-class hotel, inviting friends, photographers, and even a few journalists. When Chinwe walked in, she found the floor covered with rose petals, candles glowing in glasses, and a band playing soft music. Emeka went down on one knee, holding out a sparkling diamond ring. Chinwe, my love, he declared loudly, will you marry me and be the queen of my empire? Chinwe gasped theatrically, covering her mouth. Yes, yes, I will. The crowd clapped, cameras flashed, and Emeka slipped the ring on her finger. She held her hand up for everyone to see, smiling so wide that her cheeks hurt. The next day, social media exploded with the pictures. People shared them with captions like, Big man Emeka finds his queen. Others joked, Amara must be crying wherever she is. In her sister's house, Amara saw the pictures on her phone. She sat quietly, scrolling, her chest tight. Chinyere stormed into the room. Have you seen it? That man is marrying that proud girl. And look how he is showing it off everywhere. Amara nodded, forcing a calm face. Yes, I saw it. Chinyere threw her hands up. God will judge him. After everything he did to you, now he is using this wedding to mock you more. Amara put the phone down. Her heart ached, but she whispered softly, if he wants to marry her, let him. My own life must move forward too. But Emeka was not finished. A week later, Amara was at the boutique, arranging fabric rolls when a delivery man walked in. Delivery for Miss Amara, he announced. Confused, she signed and opened the envelope. Inside was a golden wedding invitation card. At the bottom was a handwritten note in Emeka's bold writing. Amara, come and see what real wealth looks like. Don't miss the wedding of the year. Her hands shook as she read the words. Madam Kemi, who had been watching from across the room, walked over. What is it? She asked. Amara silently handed her the card. Madam Kemi read it, her eyebrows narrowing. Then she looked at Amara with sharp eyes. He wants to break you again. He wants you to come and feel small. Are you going to let him win? Amara's throat felt tight. I don't know, Ma. If I go, everyone will look at me and laugh. If I don't go, he will think I am hiding. Madam Kemi placed a firm hand on her shoulder. Listen to me, Amara. Do not hide from your past. If you walk into that wedding, you must not go as the woman he left behind. You must go as the woman you have become. Amara's eyes filled with tears. But will I ever be enough? Madame Kemi smiled faintly. Not only will you be enough, you will be unforgettable. That night, Amara sat on the mat in Chinyer's living room, holding the golden card. Her sister sat beside her, angry tears in her eyes. Amara, don't go, Chinyer said. He only wants to shame you. If you step into that place, they will mock you to your face. Amara shook her head slowly. No, sister, I will go, but not as the Amara they knew. I will go as the Amara they never expected. Chinyer looked at her with wide eyes. What do you mean? Amara stared at the ceiling, determination burning quietly inside her. You will see. The day of that wedding, I will not be the one crying. It will be them. That night, the golden wedding invitation card sat on the floor of Chinyer's small living room, glowing under the dim light bulb. Amara stared at it as if it was alive. It felt heavy, even though it was just paper. Every word on it carried the voice of Emeka mocking her again. Chinyer paced the room angrily. I still say you should tear that thing and throw it away. He doesn't deserve 1 second of your time. Amara held the card in her hands, her fingers trembling. If I throw it away, he will think he won. He will think I was too afraid to face him. Chinyer stopped and looked at her. But if you go, he will laugh even more. That girl Chinwei will use her eyes to stab you with pride. Everyone there will be waiting to see how poor Amara has come to disgrace herself. Amara's throat tightened. That is what they expect. That is what Emeka wants. But I can't let him write my story again. I must choose how this chapter ends. Chinyer sighed deeply, sitting beside her. She held Amara's hand. But how? You have no car, no fancy dress, nothing to show. How will you walk into that wedding without them laughing louder? Amara looked down at her rough palms, the hands of a tailor who had spent years sewing for others. I don't know yet, but I know one thing. I will not go as the same woman he left. I will go as someone new. The next morning at the boutique, Amara told Madame Kemi everything. She held out the card with shaky fingers, her voice low. Ma, he invited me. He wants me to come and be humiliated. Madame Kemi read the card carefully, then placed it on her desk. She looked Amara straight in the eye. So what will you do? I don't want to go, Amara admitted. But if I don't, he will think I am still broken. If I go, I don't know how I will stand before all those people. Madame Kemi leaned back in her chair. Amara, listen to me. This is not just about him. This is about you. You cannot keep running from the past. If you face him, you must face him in strength, not in shame. The question is, are you ready to show the world who you have become? Amara swallowed hard. I want to, but I'm afraid. Fear is normal, Madame Kemi said. But fear cannot stop you. You must prepare. You must enter that wedding not as a beggar, but as a queen. If Emeka wants a show, then give him a show he will never forget. Amara's eyes widened. But Ma, how? I don't have what it takes. Madame Kemi's lips curved into a knowing smile. That is where I come in. Leave it to me. The following week became a turning point in Amara's life. Madame Kemi threw herself into the task as if it was her own battle. First, she said one morning, we must change how you look. Clothes are not just fabric, they are armor. The right dress can silence a room before you even speak. She led Amara to the boutique's private section, where exclusive gowns were kept. Fabrics shimmered in every color, silks, velvets, sequins. Choose, Amara whispered nervously. No, Madame Kemi said firmly. I will choose for you. Her eyes scanned the racks until she pulled out a golden gown with a fitted waist and a flowing bottom. It glistened under the lights. This is the one. When you walk into that hall, you will not look like a tailor's assistant. You will look like destiny itself. Amara's hand shook as she touched the gown. Ma, it is too beautiful. I can't wear something like this. You can and you will, Madame Kemi said. Stop seeing yourself as unworthy. From today, every mirror you look into must remind you that you are enough. Next came training. Madame Kemi made her walk across the boutique again and again. Straighten your back, Amara. Lift your chin. Do not shuffle your feet. Queens do not walk like they are apologizing. Amara tried, but she kept stumbling. She laughed nervously. Ma, I will fall on the wedding day. Madam Kemi clapped her hands. No, you will not. Again. Hour after hour, Amara walked, turned, sat, and stood until her movements became smooth. Good, Madam Kemi finally said. Now when you enter that hall, no one will see the woman who was mocked. They will see a woman who commands respect. Then came grooming. Madam Kemi called in her personal stylist. This is Amara, she told him. Transform her. The stylist studied Amara's face. Her skin is already glowing naturally. With the right makeup, she will shine like the sun. Amara blushed. Nobody has ever said that about me. Well, get used to it, Madam Kemi said with a smile, because soon, many will say it. For the first time in her life, Amara sat in a makeup chair. Brushes moved across her face, soft powders, bright colors. When the mirror was finally turned to her, she gasped. Is that me? She whispered. Her eyes looked bigger, her lips fuller, her face radiant. She looked like a woman she didn't recognize but always dreamed of being. Yes, that is you, Madam Kemi said proudly. This is who you were always meant to be. One evening, as they sat together in the boutique office, Amara grew quiet. What is it? Madam Kemi asked. Amara's voice was soft. Ma, what if I fail? What if I walk into that wedding and they still laugh at me? Madam Kemi leaned closer, her eyes firm. Listen to me, Amara. Even if they laugh, you must not bend. Power is not in their eyes, it is in your heart. You have already won because you refuse to hide. That is the true victory. Amara nodded slowly, her heart filling with courage. But there was one final piece missing. A queen does not walk to her throne on foot, Madam Kemi said one afternoon. You will not enter that wedding by bus or Okada. You will arrive in style. Amara frowned. How, Ma? I don't even own a car. Madam Kemi smiled mysteriously. Leave that to me. 2 days later, she revealed the surprise. A sleek black Lamborghini rented for the occasion. Amara's mouth fell open. This? For me? Yes, Madam Kemi said firmly. When you step out of this car, the whole world will stop and look. That is the moment Emeka will realize the woman he mocked is gone forever. Tears filled Amara's eyes as she hugged Madam Kemi tightly. Thank you, Mom. I will never forget this. At home, Chinyere could hardly believe her eyes when Amara showed her the gown and told her about the Lamborghini. Sister, are you serious? A Lamborghini? Do you know how people will faint when they see you step out of that car? Amara laughed through her tears. That is the point. For once, it will not be me crying. It will be them. Chinyere hugged her tightly. I am proud of you. This is your time. The night before the wedding, Amara lay awake, staring at the ceiling. Her heart beat fast, not from fear, but from determination. She whispered into the darkness. Tomorrow I will not walk into that hall as the woman Emeka mocked. I will walk in as the woman I have become. He wanted me to be humiliated, but he will be the one to bow his head. With that promise, she finally closed her eyes, ready for the day that would change everything. The morning of the wedding arrived like a storm. The entire city buzzed with excitement. Radios played jingles announcing it as the event of the year. Social media was flooded with pictures of Chinwe in her pre-wedding gown, posing with her diamond ring. People in town whispered about the amount of money Emeka had spent. By 10 o'clock, the wedding venue was already decorated in gold and white. Tall flowers lined the walkway. Shiny chandeliers hung from the ceiling. Expensive cars filled the parking lot. Photographers ran back and forth, adjusting their cameras, ready to capture every moment. Inside the hall, guests sat in rows, fanning themselves, talking loudly. This wedding will scatter the town, one woman said. Emeka has money, and he is showing it. Another added with a laugh, let us see if his ex-wife will show her face here. I heard he sent her an invitation just to disgrace her. Everyone chuckled and shook their heads. At the groom's section, Emeka stood tall in his white suit, surrounded by his friends. His chest swelled with pride. Guy, Uche said, clapping him on the back. You have outdone yourself. Look at this hall. It looks like a royal palace. Emeka grinned. Only the best for me. After all, I deserve it. This wedding will remind people that I am not on the same level with small men. Another friend leaned in. But tell us the truth, Emeka. Did you really invite Amara? Or was it just talk? Emeka smirked. Of course I invited her. I even wrote a note telling her to come and see what real wealth looks like. She will come. I know her. She will not want me to think she is afraid." The friends burst into laughter. "If she comes, she will bury her face in shame. Imagine her walking in with that wrapper she loves tying." Emeka laughed too, shaking his head. "Exactly. That is the picture I want. I want everyone to see the difference between what I had and what I have now." On the other side of the hall, Chinwe sat like a queen. She wore a dazzling gown that sparkled with every movement. Gold jewelry hung on her neck and wrists. Her nails were painted bright red. She sat with her bridesmaids, tossing her hair and smiling proudly. "Look at all the people," she said, glancing around. "They came for me. Today the whole city will know that I am the woman who won Emeka's heart." One of her bridesmaids whispered, "You look like royalty, Chinwe. Nobody can compete with you today." Chinwe smirked. "Especially not that poor tailor, Amara. If she dares to come, she will hide in shame. I will make sure she feels invisible." They all laughed, adjusting their dresses. The master of ceremonies, a loud man with a microphone, walked to the front. "Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the wedding of the year," he shouted. "Today we celebrate Emeka and his beautiful bride, Chinwe." The guests clapped and cheered. Drums rolled. Trumpets blared. Emeka raised his glass in the groom's section, waving to the crowd. "Thank you all for coming," he said loudly. "This is not just a wedding. It is proof that when you choose well, life rewards you." The crowd cheered louder, though some exchanged knowing glances. His pride was too much, but nobody dared to say it aloud. Backstage, Chinwe checked her reflection in a tall mirror. She leaned close, adjusting her lipstick. "This is my day," she whispered to herself. "No one can steal this shine from me." Her mother walked in, beaming. "My daughter, you look like a goddess. Emeka is lucky to have you." Chinwe smiled. "Not lucky, blessed. I am the kind of woman men fight to have. Today proves it." They walked out together as photographers rushed forward, their cameras flashing nonstop. Guests clapped as Chinwe made her grand entrance into the hall, her gown glittering like fire under the lights. "Look at her!" someone shouted. "She is shining like gold." "She is truly Emeka's type," another said. "This is a woman of class." Chinwe smiled proudly, drinking in the attention. Every eye was on her, and she loved it. Meanwhile, Emeka strutted to the middle of the hall, his arms spread wide as if the entire celebration was his achievement alone. "Ladies and gentlemen," he announced, "today I present to you my bride, the woman who completes me, a woman of beauty, of grace, of style, a woman who shows what true success looks like." The crowd clapped again. Chinwe glided toward him, and he took her hand. Together they stood before the crowd, basking in admiration. But even in the middle of the noise, whispers began to rise. "I heard Amara is on her way." "Are you serious? The ex-wife?" "Yes. Someone said they saw a black car leaving Madame Kemi's boutique earlier. And you know Madame Kemi. She doesn't move small." Gasps filled the corners of the hall. Some guests turned toward the entrance, their curiosity growing. "Hey, if Amara comes, I want to see her face when she sees this grand wedding." "Don't lie. What can she possibly wear? She is just a tailor." "But what if she surprises us?" The whispers spread quickly like fire. Soon, half the hall was glancing toward the door, waiting. Emeka noticed the murmur and frowned. "What are they talking about?" he asked Uche. Uche leaned close. "They say Amara may be coming." Emeka chuckled, relief washing over him. "Good. Let her come. Let her see what she lost. This will make the humiliation complete." Chinwe overheard and smirked. "Let her come. Today she will know she was never in my league." The music rose. The cameras flashed, the laughter echoed. But under all the noise, a sense of expectation hung heavy in the air. Something was about to happen, and everyone could feel it. Amara was on her way. Outside the wedding hall, the sun blazed high in the sky. Photographers stood near the entrance, snapping pictures of arriving guests. Expensive cars lined the street, Range Rovers, Mercedes, Lexus SUVs. Everyone thought they had already seen the height of luxury that morning. Then the sound came. A low, smooth roar filled the air. Heads turned. People shaded their eyes with their hands. "What is that sound?" one guest asked. "Wait, listen." That's not an ordinary car engine. A sleek black Lamborghini glided down the road, its body shining like glass under the sun. The car slowed in front of the hall, its engine purring like a wild animal. The photographers gasped and scrambled into position. Guests near the door stopped talking and stared. The hall inside grew quieter as whispers rushed like waves. Who is that? Which big man came with a Lambo today? I thought only politicians drive that kind of car. The Lamborghini stopped smoothly. Its door lifted upward like wings. For a moment, time stood still. Then a golden shoe touched the ground. Gasps filled the air. Amara stepped out slowly, her golden gown shimmering as it caught the sunlight. The fitted waist hugged her figure, and the flowing bottom danced gently with the breeze. Her makeup was flawless, her hair styled into elegant waves. A diamond necklace sparkled at her throat, and her confidence radiated brighter than the jewels. In one hand, she held a small designer clutch. With the other, she gently adjusted her gown. Her back was straight, her chin lifted. Every step she took was deliberate, calm, powerful. The photographers went wild. Cameras flashed nonstop. "Who is she?" one gasped. "She looks like a movie star," another whispered. Someone at the back shouted, "Wait, that's Amara!" The crowd froze, then erupted in shocked whispers. "Amara? You mean Emeka's ex-wife?" "No, it cannot be her." "Look well, it's her. But how?" "She looks like a queen." Inside the hall, the whispers grew louder. People turned toward the entrance, craning their necks. "What's happening outside?" one man asked. "They said a Lamborghini just stopped." And someone stepped out in gold. "They say it is Amara." "Impossible. Amara cannot look like that." But the murmurs refused to die down. Soon, even the master of ceremonies struggled to speak over the noise. Emeka frowned, confusion written on his face. "Why are people making noise? What is going on out there?" One of his friends rushed in from outside, his eyes wide. "Emeka! You will not believe it. Your ex-wife, Amara, she is here." Emeka laughed, though unease crept into his voice. "So what? She came to disgrace herself. Let her come in with her wrapper and bare feet." The friend shook his head, still shocked. "No, my brother. This is not the Amara you know. She came in a Lamborghini. She is dressed like royalty." Emeka's laughter died in his throat. He blinked, trying to process the words. "What did you just say?" Before the man could answer, the doors of the hall swung open. Amara walked in. The golden gown caught the light of the chandeliers, casting a glow around her. The entire hall went silent. All eyes followed her, mouths open in disbelief. Even the music stopped for a few seconds, as if the instruments themselves were stunned. A woman whispered, "She looks like an angel." Another muttered, "This is not the Amara we used to laugh at." Phones came out quickly, recording videos, snapping pictures. Amara walked slowly down the red carpet, her heels clicking softly, her face calm. She did not rush. She did not hide. She moved as if she owned the very ground beneath her. Every step made Chinwee's smile fade. Every camera flash made Emeka's chest tighten. On the left side of the hall, a group of women leaned together, whispering, "Is this not the same woman Emeka divorced because she was poor?" "Yes, but look at her now. She's more beautiful than the bride herself." God has shamed them today." Men shook their heads, impressed. "This woman carries herself like a billionaire's wife. Who would believe she once sold her labor in the market?" Emeka stood frozen, his glass of wine trembling in his hand. His friends exchanged uneasy glances. One of them whispered, "Emeka, this is not good. She has stolen the attention of the whole hall." Emeka clenched his jaw. "No, this is my wedding. She cannot overshadow me. She cannot." But even as he spoke, his eyes refused to leave her. His pride battled with his shock. Chinwee's anger boiled inside her. She grabbed her bridesmaid's arm and hissed, "Why is everyone looking at her? Why are they not looking at me? This is my wedding, not hers." The bridesmaid whispered nervously, "But she is shining. Even I cannot stop staring." Chinwee's face darkened. She forced a laugh, loud and fake. "Let them look. She is only pretending. She cannot compare to me." But her hand shook as she adjusted her crown. Amara finally reached the center of the hall. She paused, letting the silence deepen. Slowly, she looked around, her gaze calm but piercing. She did not need to speak. Her presence spoke louder than any words. A little boy in the crowd whispered to his mother, "Mama, is she a queen?" The mother replied softly, "Yes, my son. Today she is a queen." The master of ceremonies, trying to recover, forced a nervous laugh into the microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen, we welcome our special guest." But even he stumbled over his words. His eyes kept returning to Amara, his voice losing its usual confidence. The photographers, forgetting their duty to the bride and groom, crowded Amara, shouting, "Look here, Ma, just one smile." Amara gave a gentle smile, and the flashes grew brighter, the noise louder. Chinwe could not take it anymore. She turned to Emeka sharply. "Do something. Everyone is looking at her instead of me." Emeka clenched his fists, his pride bruised, but his voice was tight with fear as he muttered, "I did not invite her for this. I wanted her to crawl in shame, not this." And for the first time since the morning began, Emeka felt the ground shift beneath his feet. The hall was no longer celebrating the wedding. It was celebrating Amara, and the day was only beginning. The hall was still buzzing with shock. Every head remained turned toward Amara. Phones stayed lifted in the air. Guests whispered loudly without even trying to hide it. Chinwe sat stiffly in her seat, her painted smile frozen, her eyes burning. Emeka's pride cracked with every second that passed. Finally, unable to bear the silence pressing against his chest, Emeka stepped forward. His voice was loud, but it trembled slightly. "So, Amara," he said, forcing a laugh, "you actually came. I was wondering if you had the courage. Tell me, did you come to admire what you lost?" The crowd leaned in. The drama everyone had been waiting for was unfolding. Cameras zoomed closer. Amara did not rush to answer. She stood tall, her face calm, her golden gown glowing under the chandeliers. She turned her head slightly, letting her eyes sweep the hall before settling on Emeka. Her voice, when she finally spoke, was steady. "No, Emeka, I did not come to admire anything. I came to congratulate you." Gasps spread like ripples. The calmness in her voice shook Emeka more than any insult could. He forced another laugh, louder this time, trying to cover his unease. "Congratulate me? Oh, how kind. But tell me the truth, Amara. Doesn't it hurt you to see me marry a real woman? Doesn't it pain you to see what you could never be?" Amara tilted her head slightly, her lips curving into the faintest smile. "Pain? No, Emeka. I feel no pain. In fact, I feel relief, because today I see clearly the man I once called my husband, and I thank God I am free." The crowd erupted in murmurs. Some clapped softly, others nodded in agreement. Emeka's jaw tightened. He stepped closer, lowering his voice so only she could hear, though the microphones nearby caught every word. "You are trying to embarrass me in front of everyone. Is that why you came?" Amara met his eyes steadily. "No, I don't need to embarrass you. You are doing that yourself." The words hit harder than a slap. The crowd gasped again. People exchanged looks, covering their mouths to hide their laughter. Chinwe, unable to hold herself back, shot up from her seat. "Enough," she snapped. "Why is everyone listening to her? This is my wedding, not hers." A bridesmaid tugged at her arm, whispering, "Sit down, Chinwe. People are watching." But Chinwe's anger boiled over. She pointed at Amara with shaking fingers. "Look at her. She thinks because she borrowed a gown and rented a car, she is somebody. Do not be fooled. She is still the poor tailor we all know." The hall went dead silent, waiting for Amara's response. Amara did not flinch. She took a single step forward, her voice firm but calm. "Yes, I was poor. Yes, I was a tailor. But I worked with my hands with honesty. I did not build myself by stepping on others or mocking those who loved me." "What about you, Chinwe? What do you have, apart from pride?" Gasps filled the hall again. Chinwe's face twisted with rage. She grabbed her gown and stormed out of the hall, her bridesmaids rushing after her. The crowd burst into whispers louder than before. "Did you see that? The bride walked out of her own wedding. Amara has turned the tables completely." Emeka's face burned red. Sweat gathered at his temples. He tried to recover his pride, raising his voice. Do not listen to her. She is bitter. She cannot stand to see me happy. That is why she is here, to spoil my day. But the guests were no longer on his side. They shook their heads, whispering, Is this the same Emeka who mocked her in the market? Yes. Now look, she has come back stronger. He wanted to disgrace her, but see how God has disgraced him. Some even chuckled openly, pointing at him. Big man Emeka is shaking. Can you see his hand trembling? Emeka turned to the crowd, desperation in his eyes. Stop talking. This is my wedding. Respect yourselves. But the more he shouted, the more foolish he looked. Amara did not raise her voice. She simply turned slightly toward the guests and said clearly, I did not come here to fight. I came here to show that no matter how much someone mocks you, you can rise again. Emeka tried to break me. He tried to bury me. But look at me today. I am still standing. The hall erupted into applause. People rose from their seats, clapping, nodding, cheering. The photographers captured every moment, their flashes making the scene brighter. Emeka stood frozen, humiliated. His bride had stormed off. His guests were clapping for another woman. His pride lay shattered before his eyes. And Amara, calm and radiant, turned and began to walk back toward the door. Every eye followed her, every phone recorded her. The whispers trailed behind like music. That woman is a queen. She has won today. Emeka will never forget this shame. Emeka dropped into his chair heavily, his hands covering his face. The laughter of the crowd echoed in his ears. For the first time in his life, he wished the ground would open and swallow him whole. The hall was still buzzing long after Amara's words cut through the air. Guests clapped, some even stood up, their eyes still fixed on her golden gown. Others whispered to themselves, shaking their heads in disbelief at what had just unfolded. Amara did not rush. She walked slowly toward the door, her heels clicking against the polished floor, each step filled with calm authority. Photographers followed her, their cameras flashing, capturing every second of her departure. Near the front row, an old woman leaned on her cane and whispered, This is how God fights battles. The stone they rejected has become the cornerstone. People nodded, agreeing. Yes, she came in dignity. She didn't shout. She didn't insult. She just spoke the truth. Emeka sat slumped in his chair, his face pale. His hands rubbed over his forehead as sweat trickled down. His friends tried to comfort him, but their words carried no weight. Guy, calm down, Uche muttered. Don't let her win. Emeka snapped. Win? Can't you see? She already has. The guests around him glanced at him with mockery in their eyes. Some even pulled out their phones, recording his shame. Emeka tried to straighten his back, but his pride was crushed. A young man whispered to his friend, This is the same Emeka who used to boast about wealth. Look at him now, disgraced in front of everyone. His friend replied, Pride always brings a man down. Today he has learned. Meanwhile, Chinwe's footsteps echoed angrily in the corridor outside. She ripped off her crown and threw it against the wall. Her bridesmaids followed nervously, trying to calm her. Leave me, Chinwe shouted. Did you see how they looked at her? As if she was the bride and I was nothing. No, I cannot stay in there. Emeka has allowed that woman to steal my day. One bridesmaid whispered carefully, But madam, if you don't go back inside, people will say you ran away. Let them say what they want, Chinwe snapped. I will not share my spotlight with her. Not today. Her voice cracked with fury, and tears of rage slid down her face. Back inside, Amara reached the door. She paused, turned slightly, and looked at the crowd one last time. Her voice was soft but carried across the hall. To every woman here who has been mocked, to every man who has been cast aside, remember this. Your story is not finished. People may laugh today, but tomorrow can be different. Do not give up on yourself. The guests erupted in applause once more. Some wiped tears from their eyes. Others nodded deeply, as if her words touched their very souls. Amara gave a small smile, then turned and stepped out of the hall. Outside, the Lamborghini still waited, its sleek body gleaming under the afternoon sun. The driver quickly opened the door for her. The photographers rushed forward again, calling out, Just one more picture, Ma. Smile for us, Queen. Amara gave them one last graceful smile and slid into the car. The door lifted and shut smoothly. The engine roared to life, and with a calm glide, the Lamborghini pulled away from the venue. As it disappeared down the street, people outside shook their heads in amazement. "That woman has written history today," one man said. "Yes," another agreed. "She walked in as a queen and left as a legend." Inside the hall, the mood had completely changed. The guests no longer looked impressed by the decorations or the expensive food. They only talked about Amara. "Did you see her gown? Her confidence. She didn't raise her voice once, but she silenced the whole hall. That is what true dignity looks like." Emeka sat in his chair staring blankly at the ground. His wine glass lay broken beside him. The laughter of the guests echoed in his ears like knives. His bride was gone, his respect destroyed, and his pride trampled. One old man leaned toward him and said quietly, "You should have cherished her when you had her. Now you see the cost of pride." Emeka clenched his fist, but he had no reply. Hours later, when the guests began to leave, the talk did not stop. Social media was already flooded with videos of Amara's entrance and her calm words. The hashtags trended. Chakunir, true queen, Chanar Amara the boss, Chanar wedding turn lesson. By evening, the entire city knew the story. Everyone was laughing at Emeka, not celebrating him. Instead of being remembered for his grand wedding, he was remembered as the man who tried to mock his ex-wife, but ended up disgraced. At home that night, Amara sat quietly in Chinyeri's living room, still wearing her golden gown. Chinyere rushed to her, hugging her tightly. "Sister, you were perfect. The whole city is talking about you. Do you know what you did today?" Amara smiled faintly. "I only spoke the truth." Chinyere shook her head. "No, you did more than that. You showed every woman that she does not need to beg for respect. You showed that dignity is louder than wealth." Amara's eyes filled with quiet tears. She whispered, "I thought I went there to face my past, but I see now, I went there to inspire others." Meanwhile, Emeka sat alone in his dark room. Chinwe had refused to come back after storming out. His phone buzzed endlessly with messages, but none congratulated him. They were all videos of Amara, jokes about him, memes mocking his pride. He threw the phone against the wall and buried his face in his hands. "What have I done?" he muttered, but it was too late. The damage was done. The next morning, Madame Kemi met Amara at the boutique. She hugged her tightly. "My dear, you did it. You did not just attend, you conquered." Amara smiled softly. "Thank you, Ma, for everything. Without you, I would never have had the courage." Madame Kemi shook her head. "No, the courage was already inside you. I only helped you see it." Amara looked out the window at the busy street. Her voice was calm. "I don't know what tomorrow holds, but I know this. I will never again let anyone write my story for me. From today, I am the author of my life." And so, while Emeka's name became a warning about pride and foolishness, Amara's name became a symbol of strength. She left the wedding not with bitterness, but with dignity. The same woman once mocked as poor and boring had walked into the grandest hall in the city and walked out as the true queen.